My name is Viola Merritt. I'm 60 years old. I have only one son, Trevor. I gave birth to him when I was just 19. His father left us the moment he found out I was pregnant. At first, I cried myself to sleep night after night, but then I got up, wiped my tears, and started scrubbing floors in rich people's houses so my boy wouldn't go without. Trevor was always a good son, kind, caring, respectful. He knew how hard I worked to give him a better life. He never asked for more than he needed. When he was in school, he got a paper route to earn his own money. Later, he started working at a garage to save up for his first old pickup truck. I was so proud of him. I told every neighbor about my boy. And he always said, "One day, Mom, I'll get you out of this poverty. I promise." I would smile, like any mother would, and stroke his cheek. "I don't need riches, Trev. All I want is for you to be happy." When he turned 30, he suddenly found an investor and launched his first business, an app that delivered farm fresh produce. It sounded simple, but it took off. Within 6 months, he had 3 offices across different states. In a year, he owned a mansion in Texas and drove a sports car I couldn't even pronounce. I was truly happy for him. Really. Deep inside, pride bloomed. My boy had become everything he dreamed of being. He called me every day, sent me money, even asked me to move in with him, but I always declined. I was comfortable in my little home in North Carolina. It had been my whole life. But then, things started to change. At first, the calls came less often. Then they stopped altogether. I told myself he was just busy. I didn't want to be a burden. I sent him short messages. "Love you, don't forget to eat, I miss you." Sometimes he replied, brief, dry, without his usual warmth. And then, one day, he showed up. In a sleek black car, wearing an expensive suit and a watch that gleamed like gold. I ran out to the garden, arms wide open. "Trevor. My baby." He hugged me stiffly, didn't even pull me close. I felt a chill. "Mom, we need to talk," he said and walked into the house without asking how I'd been. I put on the kettle and poured us tea, but he didn't even touch his cup. His face was tense, his voice sharp. "I found a place for you. A good nursing home. Private. In Virginia. It's comfortable, there are doctors. I've already paid. The move is tomorrow." I froze. The spoon in my teacup rattled. What did you just say?" "Mom, listen. It's the rational thing to do. Your health's been acting up. High blood pressure. This house isn't good for you anymore. You'll have care there. Attention. But this is my home, Trevor. This is all I have. And you." He leaned back in his chair. His eyes, empty. "I don't have time to look after you. I have meetings, flights, projects. I just can't." "Did I ask you to?" I stood up. I managed on my own all my life. With you in my arms, then with arthritis, then with bills piling up. Alone. And now you're dumping me like an old piece of furniture? Don't be dramatic, Mom. It's the best decision. You'll be fine there. I stood there, gripping the back of a chair, and for the first time in my life, I felt alone, right there beside him. "You used to say you'd lift me out of poverty. I didn't think you'd throw me into a prison." "It's not a prison. It's a cozy place. I've taken care of everything." He left just as coldly as he came. The next day, a moving van arrived. They packed up my things like they were boxes of junk. My neighbor Molly stood on the porch crying, waving a little handkerchief. And I sat in that car, unable to understand. How had my loving son become a stranger so fast? The nursing home really wasn't bad. There was a garden with a fountain, a library, kind nurses. But none of it was mine. It felt like I had died and landed in some neat, sterile limbo. At first, I hoped he'd come. Call. Say sorry. But the weeks passed, then months, nothing. No letters. No calls. Just once, the accountant brought a document. He'd sold my house. Your son had power of attorney. Everything is legal, she mumbled, not meeting my eyes. I didn't cry. My tears had dried up long ago. I just sat by the window and watched the same maple tree, its leaves changing from summer to fall, fall to winter. One evening, a nurse turned on the TV in the common room. The news was on. There he was, my son, smiling, a microphone in his face, standing next to the governor. He was laughing, talking about a new project, promising millions of new jobs. I stared at the screen and thought, my son has everything now. But he's lost me. It had been almost a year and a half since the day Trevor handed me over to the nursing home, like I was an old toy from childhood, forgotten and no longer needed. In all that time, I hadn't heard his voice once. Not a single letter. Not even a Christmas card. It was as if he had erased me from his life. Maybe even from his heart. I no longer waited. I accepted that he had changed. I accepted that maybe love wasn't forever, especially when $1 million stood between people. Sometimes I caught glimpses of his life in the news. A new branch opening here, an innovation award there. His name popped up in articles, his face graced the covers of business magazines. He had become that glossy man he always dreamed of being. And then, there was silence. First the news came less often. Then it disappeared completely. One day, my roommate, Mrs. Elsie, brought in a newspaper and pointed at an article on the back page. Isn't this your son, Viola? In the photo, Trevor, unshaven and grim, wearing an old jacket, shouting at what looked like a creditors' meeting. The headline read, The Fall of the Merritt Empire, Billion-Dollar Debt and Scandal. I read the article, my heart trembling like a crystal glass on a train. His company had gone bankrupt. Investors had filed lawsuits. His personal accounts were frozen. Everything he once had, cars, houses, offices, was auctioned off. According to the journalists, he was now crashing on someone's couch. I closed the paper. I didn't feel happy. Even though he had betrayed me, he was still my son. My blood. My ache. I had birthed him through pain, raised him with prayers, defended him when the world was cruel. And now that same world had spat him out, just like he once had spat me out. A month passed. Then two. Then one afternoon, I was called to the front lobby. The nurse whispered, Viola, someone's here to see you. A man. I stepped out and saw him. Trevor stood hunched over, a backpack slung on one shoulder. His hair was long and tangled. His face looked 10 years older. His cheeks were sunken, eyes hollow, lips cracked. He wore a faded denim jacket and sneakers with torn tongues. He looked up at me, and I saw it. That wasn't the man from the magazines anymore. That was my boy again. Mom, he whispered. I'm sorry. I didn't move. He stepped closer, then dropped to his knees. Right there, at the entrance. In front of the other residents. In front of the nurses. Like a child. Like the little boy who once cut his finger and came running to me for comfort. I lost everything, he said. Everything, except you. But I betrayed you too. I was blinded. By money, by success. I thought I had become someone. But I ended up a nobody. I stared at him in silence. My insides twisted. I have nowhere to go, Mom. Everyone who smiled at me at parties won't even answer my calls. My girlfriend left. My friends disappeared. I slept at the train station. His voice cracked. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But, if you'd just let me talk to you. Just talk. I knelt beside him. Took his hand. His skin was cold and dry. He was trembling. Trevor, I whispered, you will always be my son. I may not forgive right away. But I won't abandon you like you abandoned me. He broke down sobbing. For the first time in years. That evening, I snuck him in through the back entrance of the nursing home. The administration would never have allowed it. But I couldn't let my son sleep on the street. He lay down on the rug beside my bed, wrapped in a blanket, and for the first time since I'd been in that place, I fell asleep peacefully. With my child nearby. In the morning, a nurse spotted him. There was a fuss. I was called to the director's office. They threatened that if I did anything like that again, I'd be expelled. But I wasn't afraid. I said firmly, either he stays, or we leave together. Then one of the staff members, Mrs. Clark, quietly whispered to me, I have a friend with a guest house. It's empty. Not far from here. You could stay there, temporarily. We agreed. And so, I, Viola Merritt, left that home once more. But this time, not abandoned. This time, I walked out by choice. With my son. The one I had given birth to, raised, and forgiven. Trevor was no longer the man he had been. He apologized for everything, every glance, every gesture. He cleaned the floors in the guest house, cooked meals, scrubbed the bathtub. He sat by the window at night, mentally going over a list of people he could still ask for help. One night, he turned to me and asked, Mom, how did you do it? All those years. The poverty, the loneliness, the betrayals. I smiled. Because I had you. And now, I have you again. He turned away and clenched his fists. I'll make it right, Mom. I swear. But this time, not for me. For you. I didn't ask for anything. Only his presence. His honesty. His hugs. But deep down, I knew life wasn't over. Not for him. Not for me. When we moved into that tiny guest house, it felt like time rewound itself. Trevor and I were together again, not as mother and teenage son, but as two worn-out souls, scorched by life, sitting side by side in a kitchen that smelled like coffee and fried eggs. He woke up every day at 6 in the morning, showered in freezing water, and went out looking for work. At first, no luck. People recognized the name and either offered a pitying smile or a smirk. He was that Merritt, the bankrupt millionaire, the one facing 6 lawsuits and with nothing left but his soul. But Trevor didn't give up. He brought home newspapers, marked off job ads, made calls, wrote letters, and showed up in person. Sometimes he came back with a shattered look in his eyes, and sometimes, with a spark of hope. Then one evening, he burst through the door and shouted, I found a job, Mom. I dropped my cup. Where? Doing what? He beamed like he used to as a kid after winning school competitions. Bakery. Corner of River and Main. I'll be lifting flour sacks, scrubbing floors, maybe helping with baking. The pay's tiny, but it's honest work. I smiled, though my heart ached. This man, who once managed millions, now found joy in brooms and shovels. Trevor, are you sure? This is. He didn't let me finish. Mom, I have to start from the bottom. And if this is the bottom, then I'll be the best damn flour lifter out there. And then, who knows? He'd come home with flour in his hair, a sore back, and reeking shoes. But he sang. He laughed. He was alive again. And most importantly, he brought home money. At first, tiny amounts. He'd place them carefully on the nightstand. This is for food, he'd say. For electricity. For water. For you being here again. I didn't spend that money. I kept it in an envelope labeled New Beginning. After a couple of weeks, he got a promotion. Turns out he was remarkably precise and dependable. One of the older bakers quit, and the owner, a gruff Armenian man named Arsho, gave Trevor a shot at baking. You've got baker's hands, not business hands, Arsho said, clapping him on the back. That's how my son became a baker. He'd wake up at 4 a.m., shower, drink coffee, kiss my cheek, and head out into the fog. He'd return in the evening with bags of baguettes, sweet rolls, stories, and a smile. We'd eat together. Listen to the radio. Sometimes, just sit in silence. Then one evening he said, Mom, I want to get us a proper place. No mold. With windows. A kitchen that doesn't leak from the ceiling. I looked at him. We're fine here, I replied. But you deserve better. And I'm not a runaway anymore. I'm a man. I'm your son. A month later, we moved into a tiny house with a red door. 2 windows. A miniature garden. A bookshelf. I hung our photo in the hallway, the one from the park, me in a straw hat, him holding an ice cream cone. Trevor had a surprise for me. He bought a rocking chair, got in touch with the library, and signed me up for a library card. He started saving. Every spare penny went into a jar. Sometimes he brought home battered furniture and fixed it. He learned how to make jam, bake pies, even sew on buttons. Each evening, he'd sit by the window, look out into the street, and whisper, I'm alive. And it's thanks to you, Mom. But not everything was easy. Letters came from the court. Reminders of debts. One former partner threatened to squeeze every last dime out of him. Trevor grew more serious, but never gave up. He kept a notebook where he tracked income, expenses, and debts. He made plans. He even began consulting a lawyer who agreed to help for a modest fee, out of respect for someone trying not to fall apart. One evening, he looked at me and asked, You know what's the scariest part, Mom? What? All those people, the ones I shared business deals with, dinners, parties, they vanished. And you, the one I betrayed, stayed. I spent years thinking power came from money. But it comes from love. I nodded. For the first time in a long while, my chest felt warm. Spring came. Lilacs bloomed in the garden. Trevor built a bench and started planting tomatoes. Every morning, I watched him walk away in his apron, wave at me, and disappear around the corner. We started laughing again. Making jokes. He'd come home with bakery stories, about the old man who always asked for a role with personality, the boy who snuck in to steal buns, the young woman who came in every Friday, lonely, but with kind eyes. "She smiles at me, Mom," he once said, "but not like a fan. Like someone who sees a person in me." I smiled quietly. Maybe he'd find someone. After everything. But I knew he had already found the most important thing. Himself. One morning, he handed me a piece of paper. "What's this?" "My new business idea. I want to open a small shop, honest, cozy. With bread, pastries, homemade jam. And your apple pie." I laughed. "I haven't baked that thing in ages." "Then we'll relearn it together." He applied for a small loan. Made a business plan. Our show promised to help. He was no longer a man who believed the world could be bought. He wanted to build it, from the ground up. Honestly. Slowly. With the people who mattered. Thank you for watching. What do you think? Did his mother make the right choice by forgiving him? Leave your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button.